Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I would like to talk about auto maintenance, automotive maintenance. Um, a lot of times we take care of ourselves, of course. We go to the doctors and we get checkups. We look at what our conditions are, what may be lurking in our bodies as best we can when we have the annual checkup. And automobiles are very similar to the human body. We've got to take care of our vehicles. Now, just as well as seeing a doctor and talking to a doctor, a lot of times we go back and we do some research on the internet, check what the doctor said, especially the kind of medications he's prescribing, what are the side effects. If we're real fast and real good at what we do, when we're sitting down with the doctor, we're probably researching it on our phone immediately before he makes that prescription, because drowsiness or may cause liver damage. Those are some very important things to know, and to ask the doctor if there's an alternative medication rather than take this medication. Well, the same thing is with automobiles. We take our automobiles, especially if you have a Prius. I have a Prius 2, 2012. I'm going to use that for example, but it doesn't matter what car it is or truck. These things are need to be checked out. And just because you have that light that says service due, and you take your vehicle down there to the dealership. In my case, I take it to the Toyota dealership. Um, they may come back and say, well, your fluid levels are fine. Your brakes are a little bit worn, but you don't need to replace them today. And you pay for the service. Um, what is in a service? It should be an oil change. But not necessarily. Service may not include an oil change. Probably doesn't actually. Now that I think about it. What exactly is a service? Find out what is a service before you schedule that. I want to tell you about some things that I have discovered. I have a 2012 Prius, and it came with a very good warranty, of course, while it was under payment. The payments were a 3-year. It was $600 a month for 3 years, 36 months. No down payment at the time, 0% interest. It was a pretty good deal. The payments were very high. I think they were 600 and something a month on the payments at the time. So I was really glad to roll off of that 3-year marker and have it paid off. So I've had this car, and it's up to 7,000 miles right now. Today is May the 30th, Thursday, 2019. And I looked at the car the other day. It was right up to 7,000 and some change. And a lot of these newer cars have the transmission fluid with no dipstick. No, there's no stick to pull out and check your transmission fluid. They're sealed. And what you normally want to do, if you research this, besides hearing it from me, is just do a transmission fluid change. Now, there's a lot of debate on the internet about whether you're going to do that around 1,000 miles. I saw that. Someone else suggested as little as 100 miles. I don't think 100. But there's different colorations in transmission fluid. For example, there's a kind of a black red, which may include some buildup, broken pieces inside the fluid. That is the worst. That's an emergency type of change that you need to do with transmission fluid. There's a slightly less dark red tint of transmission fluid, which is time for a change. And then, of course, there's pink, kind of a pink red, which is clear, kind of translucent. That's the fresh transmission fluid. And so you can check your transmission fluid by putting it on a white paper towel, dropping a few drops. But you normally check that with your engine hot, your engine running. You pull your transmission fluid dipstick out and you check it. Now, the ones that are sealed, obviously you cannot check. They have no dipstick. I believe my Prius 2 has none. I can go back and look, and I will, because a lot of times they're not red, they're black, the newer dipsticks. Usually your oil is yellow, has a yellow dipstick. Oil. You always check your oil with the engine off. I'll say it again. Check your oil with the engine off, not on. So don't get the two confused. You can play this video back all day long and you hear the same story. Check the oil with the engine off. Okay, but let me tell you, I've been thinking that, everything's been fine, and I have not been checking my oil and my transmission fluid. Of course, I don't think I can, but I'm going to tell you what I've done about my transmission fluid. But I'm going to talk about oil for a moment. Your engine can sometimes talk to you. If you know your car or your truck, you know if your engine's not sounding exactly great. And I have been driving, and I've noticed there's been kind of a rev intensity to it. So I did check my oil, and it was just below the add oil marker. So what I understand, and I could be wrong, so I'll say it first, 3 to 4, it should be holding a total of 4 quarts of oil. So when it gets down to the add oil marker, that is 3 quarts of oil, and then you want to add, I believe 1 quart will bring it up. So somehow this thing was below the add oil marker, so when I added 1 quart, it brought it up to a half between the full and the add oil marker on the stick, which is fine because now I'm going to watch it. And that was a $10. It's roughly around $10 OW20 oil for the Prius 2. So that oil I'm going to watch, and when it gets down to the add oil marker, I am going to have the oil changed. But having people come out over the last couple months, which I've done this over a couple months, and tell you everything's okay, and it's not. And yeah, it's my fault that I haven't been checking my oil, but believe me, these vehicles are well made, and they don't consume oil and transmission fluid that fast. And I again, I don't know about my transmission fluid, but I'm about to talk about that. But the bottom line is, we can't take these guys' stories, these technicians' stories for granted. It's like lately, and if you know anything as well as I do, and I know you do, if you're watching this, you're informed. You're going to have to do things yourself in life, later in life. This is becoming a DIY lifestyle for most people. If they want it done right, they do it yourself. They do it themselves. I have a air conditioning unit that's out. It's central air, and I've already tracked down and researched the problem. Okay, Google, cancel alarm. I've already went ahead and traced the problem, and I believe it's the capacitor. So central air is not pushing. So I recently just installed a window unit as a temporary measure. So I've retreated to my bedroom home office. As you know, this is where I do most of my work anyway. So it's a win-win. I'm just retreating here for a moment. It's running closely to 90 degrees inside the rest of the house, and it's not good. We're at record temperatures, as you know, here in America. It's up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and in Celsius it might be 38. Okay, Google, what's the equivalent of 100 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius?
100 degrees Fahrenheit equal 37.778 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, 38 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty hot. It's record temperatures, and I know there are other parts of the world that have their record temperatures too. So I know everybody's suffering right now if they're outside and they have no air con. Matter of fact, I just turned my air con off in here so that I can do this video. But I'm using this window unit, and it's a good backup. But like I said, I think it's the capacitor that I need to pull out of my central air, and it's only like $16 US. So what am I going to do? Yes, I'm going to go out there at some point. I'm going to unplug that thing or deactivate the power on that thing, I already got the power off anyway, but I'm going to go ahead and pop that capacitor out of there, and I'm going to go down to Lowe's or Home Depot, and I'm going to go ahead and get the $16 item, come back and plop the other one back in, and see if everything's back to normal, because it's definitely not, it's pushing air in the house, but the fan's not turning, and after research, and you can research these things, of course, that's a good sign it's a capacitor. So let me go ahead and get that done instead of pay a guy 150 US dollars to come out here, or 400, whatever he wants to charge. And by the way, all this business of servicing, if you're dealing with someone, do what I do, get a firm quote. Don't don't be just sitting there and take your car in for maintenance or whatever, and not even get a firm price. That's not right. You want to be spot on, and have a firm quote up front. I think it's awful how women particularly are taken advantage of by these dealers, and they take a car in, they don't even get a quote, and then the guy calls them up with some astronomical amount of money. And this is a big scam running around. Sometimes they do it on purpose. They charge through the roof so the person can't get their car back. And yes, you're not getting your car back until you pay in full. A lot of them do. A lot of women like that, they end up impounding the car, and next thing you know, they're trying to do some kind of impound fee every day that it was impounded. And next thing you know, they own the car. They done took the car from you, and you no longer own the car, and they can go ahead and sell it. It's really bad out there in the real world. We know that. But I hope I'm helping somebody for a moment. I know I'm getting off topic, but I'm getting right back on topic. But back to Auto Care. Check your oil and check your transmission fluid. Have your oil changed. I would say every 100,000 miles you should certainly change your oil at a maximum. It's up to you, whether you want to do 50,000 or 30,000 on changing oil. But check your oil levels, because during those periods before you do an oil change, you want to top off your oil. Not top it off maximum, but at least have between the add oil marker and your full, have oil in there. Because nothing's worse. If you let the oil get down to nothing, you're going to set your car on fire, because there's no oil to lubricate anything. Car can catch on fire. Transmission fluid, same way. So check your transmission fluid. So those are some things you want to do, but let's not take take this for granted when someone tells you that everything is okay, because that could be another setup, especially if you go quite regularly to whoever you go to. They're waiting for you to have a total breakdown or something really bad happen to your car. And next thing you know, you're paying through the roof because you listened to somebody and you didn't take the initiative to go find out what's wrong with your own car. Yeah, you got to look after yourself and your investments in life. Whether it's your money, it's your automobile, or your human body. You want to take care of yourselves, and so I would say let's have less faith in other people and more faith in ourselves, as far as these things go. So look at your tire pressure and check your tires, and air your tires up as needed, and use a tire pressure gauge. When I was in the Army, we did what we call preventative maintenance checks and services, PMCS, and that had to be done every day, and you had a checklist, and especially if you have a senior citizen parent or a friend, you definitely want to go and do a check of their vehicle once in a while. Check your turn signals, your brake lights, check the oil and transmission fluid, check your water reservoir, make sure that it's got antifreeze in it. Antifreeze is really important. Don't be skimping by pouring just regular water in there, because during the winter time it can break your block on your engine, and then you got a really big bill. I did that. I lived in Turkey, Izmir, Turkey, and I found out by pouring water in a hot weather environment and then having it shipped during the winter, I broke my block on my Volkswagen Rabbit. It was 1980 Volkswagen Rabbit back then. Beautiful vehicle. I had to get that thing totally done. So Anyway, I'm just looking out. But check your vehicle regularly. Now, on the 7,000 miles that I have on my Prius 2, what I have already done, I'm waiting for a new billing cycle, which will be the 19th of June. I have an appointment scheduled, and I'm going to go pay the crazy $189 for a transmission fluid change, because I don't know how to do it. And I think, I could. It does need a change. Obviously 7,000, and I asked them that what's really good about some dealerships, like my Toyota dealership, they do have a pretty good record of going in the computer and seeing your history of what you had done, and they couldn't find anything on transmission fluid. So imagine that. And I honestly, no one has ever came up to me and told me. And apparently, this is not being put out like it should by many dealerships, or probably even maintenance people, is this business of transmission fluid changes. So it's up to us, the consumers that own the product, to keep an eye on that if we want to keep everything going. So I would say, you know how I feel about a few things already. If you've been following me, I'm big on kidney stones after it's happened to me. And I'm probably not, this is not helping. That's not helping. Coffee. But I'm trying to stay hydrated. I'm drinking plenty of water today. But the bottom line is, we got to be safe. And so anyway, I hope I've helped you out. And please subscribe to this video. Hit the like button. Please share. And please hit the notification bell. And thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.